Welcome to the Ref Show. We have new champions of the Premier League. A member of our panel is a friend of the boss. Be interesting to hear his insights onto just how much it means to Jose Mourinho. 6 sendings off in the Premier League. We think that most are correct. I use the word most advisedly because it leads us on to more serious question marks about the choice of FA Cup final referee. And a warm welcome to our new viewers in America via goalnation.com. Good to have you there. We have MLS coverage regularly on RefCam. But first of all, on behalf of youaretheref.com, sincere condolences, commiserations to the families of Rio Ferdinand and the sad loss of his wife, and also the family of Danny Jones, the rugby league player who tragically died. This reminds us, doesn't it?
It does, and it just puts football into perspective, doesn't it?
All sport. All sport,
and you know, refereed Rio many times. Had great banter on the field of play with him, and as I say, you know, I've battled cancer. My wife's going through battling leukemia at the moment, and it's just so tragic for Rio's family, and of course
Danny Jones.
Danny Jones's family, and so we send all our love to both their families. And
such a big shock as well in each case, Keith, as well.
Amazing. I think that Rio's done well, hasn't he, to keep it quiet, really, because most things around professional footballers are out there in the open world for everybody to read and understand. He is a nice guy, and I think it's really tragic.
It is.
As for the rugby player, I mean, he turns up for a match. I think he plays 4 minutes. It's almost incredible that he feels unwell, and the outcome is, sadly, he passes away.
It makes it all the more miraculous that Fabrice Muamba survived.
It's unbelievable, and you know, we're talking about red cards, and I think one that is correct is we need to give cancer the red card, definitely.
Absolutely, we certainly do. Right, first up, otherwise, Chelsea are champions. Congratulations to them. Mark, you know Jose well.
Yeah.
How much will this mean to him?
Oh, it mean everything. You know, coming back into the Premier League and winning it again with Chelsea. He's just simply the best, isn't he? The way he motivates his team, the way he looks at the opposition, the way he goes out and sets his team, and you know, for you know, like Arsenal last week, he went out there. People called him boring, but the league table doesn't lie, does it? And I'm absolutely feel for him, and also Gary Cahill was a good friend of mine, and you know, he's done very well under Jose.
You feel a man on a mission, that he had something to prove.
I think that no doubts. I mean, I mean, my sort of stance on Jose changed. I mean, he was obviously a terrific manager, but I can remember sitting at a testimonial dinner that Mark had arranged that raised £50,000. And at the end of the evening, we were shocked with the introduction of a video directed at Mark, who was in the audience, and it was terrific. It was very, very human. It was very touching, and he made certain promises, and Mark and I know that he stood by those promises, which is absolutely terrific. So I wish him well. The
public image isn't the man, is it?
No, it's not. And
it's a clever public image.
It's when you meet him. I mean, I've shared many texts this season with him. I wouldn't go into what we've spoken about, but I'm thrilled for him, and he fully deserves. And I think Manchester City and Manchester United rue the day that they never had him as their manager, because I think that the door was there for him to go there, but obviously it's their loss and Chelsea's gain.
The title-winning game was Chelsea 1, Crystal Palace 0. Kevin Friend was in the middle. There were some queries. You were on RefCam. There were some queries raised over the crucial penalty award, which was Hazard tumbling under MacArthur's challenge. What did you make of it?
Well, I've got to say, sitting there watching it, my instinct was it was a penalty straight away. You know, being in Kevin's shoes, I think, and I still looking at it again, and I still think it's a penalty, because I think there is contact there. I know he makes a meal of it, but you know, I think everybody, and looking at all the people that are analysing it, I think most of the people are saying it is a penalty. So, and you've got to look at it real time. Kevin doesn't get a second look, and I thought he refereed the game very well, to be fair.
Okay, it's a tick beside the name of Kevin Friend. Also, I think Andre Mariner, Spurs 0, Manchester City 1. People think he had a good game, but the first half issue, penalty.
I think it's a penalty. The one thing, however, you know, and that's an error, and it's a big error. But the one thing I really appreciate is I believe Andre is moving around the field much better. He looks fitter. He looks more comfortable, and I think the run of games, he's got his confidence back. He's a quiet guy. He's a really nice guy, and it's good to see him refereeing well.
But just talking about going back to Andre, well, one thing I liked about him, I mean, I think the assistant, I mean, from where Andre is, it's going to be difficult to see that little clip, but the assistant, he's got to come in and help him. So I wouldn't blame Andre for that. But the thing I liked about it as well, he didn't go and caution Aguero for simulation. You know, he had doubts, so he just played on, and that's what you've got to do. If you have any doubts, just play on. You don't need to go and caution, because it brings tension on yourself.
Anthony Taylor, Manchester United 0, West Brom 1. He's been earning high marks from us recently, Anthony. Manchester United rewarded a penalty in this. You've seen them given. This one was given for handball. I think you thought it was harsh, Keith.
Yeah, I think that the word deliberate has to come into effect. It was tight call. You know, I mean, Anthony's done really well in recent weeks. However, I'm just a bit concerned about his exposure. You know, this is a kid who lives a couple of miles away from the ground.
We've said this before about the choice of games.
I find it incredible that he's appointed to Old Trafford. I mean, if anything absolutely went wrong, people then would sit on his doorstep and his family would come under enormous pressure. We've seen that in the past. We don't like it, but that's the exposure to the lad.
Look at Brendan Rodgers last season with Lee Mason. Man City, Greater Manchester, Liverpool. He wasn't happy with Lee, and he brought that question up, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, 6 sendings off there were in the Premier League, as we said at the start, most warranted. Most but not all, as we now turn to games, big games at the bottom of the table. Starting with West Ham 1, Burnley 0, Jonathan Moss. Now, you may feel that you've heard that name before here this season. You have, but let's be clear about one thing. This is not victimisation or anything remotely near that. The reason that John Moss's name has recurred is the high incidence of mistakes that he's made this season. Simple as that. There's absolutely no other reason for it. And he's the cup final referee. So you pinch yourself again about that.
Well, I mean, let's be clear. He dismissed a Burnley player, right, for denial of an obvious goal-scoring opportunity.
This is Michael Duff.
Yeah. I feel sorry for Michael Duff and I feel sorry for Sean Dyche, because I think they've both got a point. This was wrong. It wasn't denial. There were defenders that could come into play, and that means the criteria for Dogso is not fulfilled. I mean, I just look at this guy and I worry. You know, but the reality is he's still very inexperienced. He's only had about 87 games as a Premier League referee.
Is it fair to expose him to the FA Cup final in a season where obviously he's having a difficult time, Mark? Yeah,
listen, look, you know, John needs to be very proud that he's been given the FA Cup final, and us here at URF.com hopes he goes and has support him. He has a terrific game. I want him to have a terrific game, go out there and do very well. But you just look at, you know, I look at other referees that have been on the list a certain amount of years and done, you know, 200, 300 Premier League games, perhaps even more. I mean, John's only been on a couple of years as a full-time referee, and as Keith said, he's only done 87 games.
But out of that, he's not had the big games. I mean, he's not had the big derby games that give him the sort of experience.
The Chelsea, Man United, the Liverpool Chelseas, the Chelsea Arsenals, Man United Arsenal, Liverpool Arsenal. He's never done any of those games.
Well, I mean, people have questioned us about, you know, we're having a go at him. No. Again, I reiterate, we want him to have a terrific weekend. FA Cup final is a massive honour to him. The reality is, those that have made this appointment, I question. I still question, and I still haven't come to terms in my own mind, that you've got a guy who is regarded very highly in Europe. Let's make clear, he's had the League Cup final, so he was good enough to referee the League Cup final. Charity Shield, good enough. Super Cup, he's had. He officiated the final at the Olympic Games. So this is a guy who's been on a number of years. I can tell you, when I was in place, this was a guy that was bubbling at number 3, in the top 3, you know, and he had Howard as his main competitor, and he doesn't get the cup final. I find that almost unbelievable.
Well, you know, we can't say why the decision has been made, other than we have to assume it's by choice. But you seriously couldn't blame anybody who looked in and thought, well, this is an old pals act or some form of cronyism. It's hard to see, you know, another reason. I'm not saying that is the case. But
well, I just want to exonerate the PGMOL from this, because this is an FA appointment.
Yeah.
So this is made by the referees committee, headed by David Ellery, and I think those guys should be actually saying to themselves, hey, and again, reiterate, Jonathan Moss is outside this. We're not criticising him for this appointment. As referees, we want him to do well. Actually, I'll tell you this, it follows exactly the line that the FA took with Mark Halsey, because here's a top-performing international referee like Clattenburg who didn't get the honour that he deserved because of his quality of officiating to referee the FA Cup final. And the same question that is asked about Clattenburg not getting it has to be asked about why didn't Halsey get it.
You mean face-fitting or not, as the case may be?
I just shudder about it.
Whatever the reason, and I'll leave you guys to make the comments, but whatever the reason, I have to say that from my objective viewpoint here, that decision is a travesty. There's no other way of putting it.
But you say the PGML, don't you? Do you not think for one moment Mike Riley and Kieran Barrett have had a little word with?
Well,
with David
what
and
happened
Neil?
in my time is they would come. The FA would come to the board meeting, the PGMOL, and say, "This is our selection, and what are the views?" I mean, if you remember, they selected Mike Dean. Can you remember?
Before the
semi-finals,
yeah.
and you know, we've gone, hey, that can't be right, and we had to work with Mike to make certain that
you got it next.
we got over that problem.
Yeah. Mark Clattenburg refereed Aston Villa 3, Everton 2, almost to underline your points. There's really nothing to raise critically at all, except for you saw something interesting, because we'll have to breeze through these games for lack of time now. You saw him signalling to players to get up.
Yes. I personally think that's a dangerous signal. This is a personal voice, you know, get up, get up. It's a little bit like going this, they play the ball. I think those could be misinterpreted signals. I think that if, rather than that, it's better to run alongside the player and say, hey, have a quiet word.
I mean, I've got to say, it's
but
just
he's a great referee.
Yeah, he's letting the player. I mean, when that used to happen to me, I used to wag my finger like that, say, no, get up, you know. But I mean, the penalty he gave was absolutely what a great spot, absolutely great spot. Yeah. And people, I mean, Tim Sheld, I think, has done a superb job of Aston Villa. You know, wish him all the best in the cup final. Was moaning about a little foul on Shay Given. Well, not for me. Not for me. He's got to be stronger.
There are too many soft fouls given.
Absolutely.
You're a goalkeeper.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm a goalkeeper's union, but I don't think that was a foul.
All right. Okay. Martin Atkinson, Liverpool 2, QPR 1. Keith, I know you were very praiseworthy of that performance. I think both of you were.
And we wish Martin all the best, because he's been appointed to a UEFA Cup.
Huge game.
Champions League semi-final, which is a big game.
So it was a great game.
One query about yellow cards. Onua got sent off there for 2 yellow cards in that match. Just a minor, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're seeing time after time this season when referees give penalties, they're giving out a yellow card to justify their decision. Now, you know, for me, the first penalty, yes, it's a clear penalty, good spot by Martin, but did he really need to yellow card the QPR player? And now, obviously, already on the yellow card, he gets a second yellow card for absolutely reckless challenge, no question about that. But could he, you know, Martin, a referee of his stature, could he have managed that first yellow card? And I would say yes.
All right. Leicester 3, Newcastle 0. Mike Dean, he wasn't the talking point, despite 2 sendings off. Jan Martin and Williamson. The big talking point was the comments of John Carver, who virtually accused Williamson of deliberately getting himself sent off. That's a first in my experience.
I know
dangerous. Sure.
I know John very well, and we've had many chats throughout the years and this season as well about refereeing standards and performances. And you know, John wears his heart on his sleeve. He's a massive Newcastle man. He's a big fan. He's played for the club. He's grown up with the club. You know, he's been on the terraces. And I think you know, when John sits down in his office or or yesterday over breakfast, he'd have looked back and just thought perhaps I should have just kept that in the dressing room.
Yeah.
Frustration.
That's my view, yeah. Sunderland 2, Southampton 1. Mike Jones, he's been mentioned a lot here this season. I must say, just a layman's view in his defence, I thought he had a decent game last week. Personally, I thought, I might not know what I'm talking about, I thought he had a good game, Sunderland 2, Southampton 1, 2 penalties. I thought there were the penalties. Ward-Prowse was sent off for denial in one of them. Now, are you going to tell me I'm wrong, that he had a good game or not?
Yeah, listen, he did. I mean, the first penalty was absolutely a great decision, very good decision, a penalty. Yeah. Second penalty, you know, you can argue, you know, you can support him giving it, you can support him not giving it, but from where he is, from his position, it looked like a penalty. But where I come in is that, was it a denial of a goal-scoring opportunity? No, the criteria, as Keith said on John Moss one, the criteria hasn't been met. Now, he's lost control of the ball. Is he going to regain control of that ball? No, he's not, because there's a defender right in front of him. And as soon as he's lost control of that ball, the defender's cleared it.
That was then your main criticism.
Absolutely. Well, he was short. I mean, the thing about all the exposure to error is viewing angle, viewing position. And he stopped short. As a result, he's exposed. And the exposure is he's then guessing. Referees at any level of the game, be it in the park or at professional level, please do not guess. Only give what you see.
Right, fine.
And that takes us back to Andre, where he had doubts about Aguero, played on, didn't caution. Not like John Moss going back to the West Ham game where he cautioned Downing when he's gone down in the box. I mean, he's gone sliding in. Okay, if you don't think it's a penalty, just carry on, because you bring all the attention on yourself. Because Stuart was adamant that he was clipped.
And just finally, Craig Pawson, good to see him back, developing referee, Swansea 2, Stoke 0. We'll talk about Craig another time, because I think we've just about run out of time. Thanks, guys, for your comments. Congratulations again to Chelsea and Jose Mourinho. And we send our good wishes as well to our Ref Show secretary, Jenny Hall. You know, I don't know how on earth we're managing to do this programme without Jenny. She's ruptured her Achilles.
I've got to say, I couldn't stop laughing. When I was told she's ruptured her Achilles, putting her washing on the line, I'm thinking, what on earth's going on?
She couldn't come up with a better reason than that. No. She actually was. It was true, apparently. Well, she's ruled out for the rest of the season, sadly, but not long to go. All right. Any queries or questions for us, youaretheref.com. Jenny's your normal point of contact, but we will pick up those. Thanks for your company. We'll see you again next week. Bye.